And I have those blue jeans that they don't say. I know. Trying to balance everything. Good morning. It's about that time.
Definitely that.
Good morning. We will be in Daniel chapter 11 this morning. Daniel chapter 11. Now, if you're like me and you like history, you'll enjoy today's class. And if you don't like history, you can come forward later confessing your sins and all that good stuff. So. I should give credit to, let's see here, Stafford North and Wayne Jackson. I thought they did a quite good job on lots of little details throughout Daniel chapter 11 here. Someone commented, Daniel 11 was written in the 530s BC, and it tells of events that will happen between then and the 160s BC. So, you know, over 300 years of history that Daniel chapter 11 here is covering, and of course, prophesying concerning. You know, I wonder if the main reason that skeptics want to say Daniel is written in the 100s BC is because of this chapter. This chapter is so specific that even the skeptics don't disagree. Okay, this is what history is being spoken of here. And they, of course, try to say, oh, it must be written in, you know, the 100s BC after all these events happened. We noted last week, let's read the last, 2 verses of Daniel chapter 10. Then he, the angel, said, do you know why I have come to you? But now I will return to fight against the prince of Persia. And when I go out, behold, the prince of Greece will come. But I will tell you what is inscribed in the book of truth. There is none who contends by my side against these except Michael, your prince. And that really is kind of where the history is leading us, toward the king of Greece and then following events. Let's take a look here, first 4 verses of Daniel chapter 11. Says, and as for me, in the first year of Darius the Mede, I stood up to confirm and strengthen him. And now I will show you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings shall arise in Persia, and a 4th shall be far richer than all of them. And when he has become strong through his riches, he shall stir up all against the kingdom of Greece. Then a mighty king shall arise, who shall rule with great dominion and do as he wills. And as soon as he has arisen, his kingdom shall be broken and divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, but not to his posterity, nor according to the authority with which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up and go to others besides these. So we still have the angel speaking here from chapter 10, verse 21. He and Michael have been helping out, and in Persia there. Mentions Darius again, probably Cyrus is who we're talking about. Verse 2 here of Daniel 11 mentions 4 more Persian kings. These would be Cambyses, he's 530 BC to 520s BC. We have Smerdis, He just reigns a year, 522 BC. We have Darius the First, the Great, 520s to 480s BC. And the one we know, Xerxes the First. He's also known as Ahasuerus. He's mentioned in the book of Esther, and of course the one who takes Esther. He reigned 480s to 460s. He's the one who has a bunch of wars against Greece. And then, in verse 3 and 4 here, we have this mighty king of Greece who comes. Well, all right, we have Alexander the Great. He only lived to be 32, but he conquered the known world of his time, all the way from Greece, all the way to the border of India. Sorry, I don't have maps. I probably should, but he was indeed great, and living so short, you know, it is quite impressive how quickly he conquered. But the vast majority of chapter 11 here concerns just after Alexander the Great. It concerns the 4 winds, these 4 generals of Alexander the Great that split up his empire. And that's mostly what chapter 11 is about. It mentions, you know, the king of Greece, and it won't go to his posterity, his kids. Indeed, as this guy mentioned, Alexander's 2 sons were assassinated shortly after his death. Again, we got a bunch of generals fighting among each other. Used to be Alexander's generals, and hey, I want this piece and I want that piece. By the way, stop me anytime you like. I tend to just keep rambling. These 4 winds, these 4 main divisions that are broken up after Alexander the Great dies, the 2 main ones we're going to talk of today is Ptolemy Egypt. Starts with a P. I don't know why. The P is silent. Ptolemy Egypt in the south is one of them. We have the Seleucid Empire in the north. Think basically Syria, Iraq, Iran, a wide swath of land he controlled. And then the other 2, you know, think modern day Greece and Turkey. And those are the 4 main divisions that Alexander's empire broke up into. The 4 kingdoms. Yes, we have Ptolemy Egypt, that starts with a P. We also have the Seleucid Empire, basically all of the Middle East there, a lot of it. And then we have, you know, basically Greece and Asia Minor, modern day Turkey, we would think today. Yes. So my plan for the rest of the chapter, I'm going to read through it, and as I'm reading, I'm going to sprinkle in a bunch of commentary. I have here New American Standard, although English Standard is the best, let's be honest. I do have New American Standard here, so you can either follow along or listen, however you want to do this, and again, just throw something at me if you have a question. So, verse 5 and following here. It says, Then the king of the south, this is Ptolemy II of Egypt, he reigns 280s to 240s BC, and he's quite famous. He's the guy who built the Great Library of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. He will grow strong along with one of his princes, one of his fellow generals left over from Greece. This was Seleucus the First of Syria. He's, of course, going to be reigning in the Seleucid Empire, who will gain ascendancy over him and obtain dominion. His dominion will be a great dominion indeed. And like we mentioned, you know, it's all the way from the border of Turkey to the border of India. That's the Seleucid Empire. It was quite massive. Verse 6, After some years they will form an alliance, and the daughter of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to carry out a peaceful arrangement. So in 252 BC, Ptolemy II of Egypt had Bernice, his daughter, marry Antiochus II. Again, he's king of the north, Seleucid Empire. He's 260s, 240s BC. He's the grandson of the first Seleucid king, Seleucus I. Perhaps I should mention it is going to be these two main breakaway regions of Alexander's empire, the Seleucid Empire, king of the north, and the Ptolemaic Egypt, king of the south. The other two, just cross them out of your mind. Oh, still in the middle of verse 6 here. But she will not retain her position of power, nor will he remain with his power. So Laodice, Antiochus II's former wife, had been put away, so she poisoned Antiochus II and Bernice. She's kind of mad about that. She then puts her son on the throne, Seleucus II. He'll reign 240s to 220s. But she will be given up, along with those who brought her in, and the one who seared her, as well as he who supported her in those times. Verse 7, but one of the descendants of her line, Ptolemy III, will arise in his place, and he will come against their army and enter the fortress. This will be Antioch, the capital of the Seleucid Empire, of course in modern-day Syria today, of the king of the north. Indeed, Ptolemy III captured the capital and killed Laodice, and he will deal with them and display great strength. Verse 8, also their gods, with their metal images and their precious vessels of silver and gold, he will take into captivity to Egypt. And he, on his part, will refrain from attacking the king of the north for some years. This some years of refraining from attacking the north, we have a peace treaty in 240 BC. Ptolemy, instead, he wants to attack something. He attacks the islands in the Aegean Sea, there in Greece. Verse 9, then the latter, Seleucus II, will enter the realm of the king of the south, but will return to his own land. I'm going to try and keep us on track here, saying every 10th verse at the very least, and then we can follow along easier. Verse 10 here, his, Seleucus II, sons, Seleucus III and Carneus. We also have Antiochus III. He's one of those important names to remember. He's the great Antiochus III. Will mobilize and assemble a multitude of great forces, and one of them will keep on coming and overflow and pass through, that he may again wage war up to his, Ptolemy IV, very fortress. Verse 11, the king of the south, Ptolemy IV, will be enraged and go forth and fight with the king of the north, Antiochus III. Then the latter will raise a great multitude, but that multitude will be given into the hand of the former. So Ptolemy IV, in the south here, he eventually defeats Antiochus III, as great as Antiochus III was, at the Battle of Raphia in 217 BC. You know, this would make a great movie. You know, we should totally have this with maps and everything going on. Verse 12, when the multitude is carried away, his, Ptolemy IV's, heart will be lifted up, and he will cause tens of thousands to fall, yet he will not prevail. For the king of the north, Antiochus III, will again raise a greater multitude than the former, and after an interval of some years, about 15, he will press on with a great army and much equipment. Indeed, this happens, he goes all the way up to Gaza in 201 BC against Ptolemy V. I should say down. He goes all the way down to Gaza. Verse 14, now in those times many will rise up. So, you know, the king of the south here, we're getting beat up by the king of the north, Antiochus. We need some help. We need some allies. And he enlists Philip V of Macedon. Oh, I'm sorry. See, I'm already getting confused in my notes. So the king of the north enlists Philip II of Macedon against the king of the south. The violent ones among your people will also lift themselves up. There in verse 14, apparently there were Jews who joined the revolt against Ptolemy V, allying against Antiochus III. Still verse 14 here, in order to fulfill the vision, but they will fall down. The Egyptian general Scopas was defeated, but also punished by Jerusalem rebels. Again, I'm trying to lay it out clear, but there's just so much information packed into this chapter and covering 300 years of stuff and fluff. That's the technical term. That's the verse 15. Then the king of the north will come. Here we have the Battle of Panium in 199 BC. I'll cast up a siege ramp and capture a well-fortified city. This is Sidon on the Mediterranean coast there. And the forces of the south will not stand their ground, not even their choicest troops, for there will be no strength to make a stand. But he, Antiochus III, who comes against him, will do as he pleases, and no one will be able to withstand him. He will also stay for a time in the beautiful land, so the promised land, with destruction in his hand. Verse 17, he will set his face to come with the power of his whole kingdom, bringing with him a proposal of peace, which he will put into effect. He will also give him the daughter of women to ruin it, but she will not take a stand for him or be on his side. So there in verse 17, a lot there happening. What happens here historically, Antiochus III offers to give Ptolemy V his daughter, Cleopatra, a different Cleopatra than the one we're thinking of, in marriage, but she joins instead with her husband, Ptolemy V, abandoning her father, Antiochus III. By the way, there's like 13 Ptolemies throughout history here, so there's quite a few of them. Clear as mud so far. We're good. We're good. My wife's not snoring yet, so. Verse 18, then he, Antiochus III, will turn his face to the coastlands. So, Asia Minor, think Western Turkey, and capture many. But a commander, here we have a commander, a Roman guy, who comes on over, Scipio. He will put a stop to his scorn against him. Indeed, Rome defeated Antiochus III at the Battle of Magnesia in 190 BC. And again, it's all balance of power, and, if the north is rising, other folks will help the south. If the south is rising, others will help the north. And we do have Rome kind of, being the third leg here, saying, all right, north, you're getting too strong, or all right, south, you're getting too strong. Let's see here. Again, at the end of verse 18 here, moreover, he will repay him for his scorn. Antiochus III's son, Antiochus IV, was taken hostage by the Romans. So he, Antiochus III, will turn his face toward the fortresses of his own land, but he will stumble and fall and be found no more. Historically, yes, Antiochus III dies while looting a temple to Zeus in 187 BC for reparations to Rome. All right, we got to pay them off. They defeated us in battle here. Verse 20. Then in his place one will arise, Seleucus IV. He reigns, 187, 175 BC. Who will send an oppressor. This guy is Heliodorus, his tax collector. He would be the oppressor, those tax collectors. Through the jewel of his kingdom. Perhaps we have in reference here the Jerusalem temple. It seems that he might have plundered the gold and silver from there in order to keep paying for all these wars we're doing. Yet, within days, he will be shattered, though not in anger nor in battle. It's true, there at the end of verse 20, Seleucus IV is poisoned. In his, Seleucus IV's place, a despicable person will arise. Antiochus IV. All right, I'm saying a lot of names, but if there's one name you want to remember, it's this guy, Antiochus IV. Just as a quick side note, we do have the city of Antioch. They named it after themselves. That's why it sounds very similar to all these Antiochuses. Antiochus IV, he's famous for being terrible to the Jews. He's also known as Antiochus Epiphanes here in 175 BC. Again, middle of verse 21 here. On whom the honor of kingship has not been confirmed. Antiochus IV was Seleucus IV's brother, not his son. So, technically not supposed to be reigning, but just as the verse says, hey, he goes on and he becomes king. He's also the little horn in chapter 8, verse 9. But he will come in a time of tranquility and seize the kingdom by intrigue, the overflowing forces. So, all right, again, lots of wars happening between Ptolemy Egypt in the south and Seleucid Empire in the north. These overflowing forces in 169 BC is Ptolemy VI. He reigns from 180s to 140s BC. And he invades up here into the beautiful land, think Israel, the promised land. Indeed, this is kind of the main land area between the king of the north and the king of the south. Will be flooded away before him, Antiochus IV, and shattered. Ptolemy VI is taken hostage. And also the prince of the covenant. Oh, okay, interesting. There in verse 22, perhaps, again, I'm not sure on this one, but perhaps it's the Jewish high priest Onias III, who dies in 172. Perhaps that's who we're thinking of here at the end of verse 22. Verse 23, after an alliance is made with him, Antiochus IV, he, Ptolemy VI, will practice deception, and he will go up and gain power with a small force of people. And this is exactly what happened, even though, again, Daniel's writing here in the 500s BC, and he's talking about stuff in the 100s BC. So, yes, a small force of people and deception. Ptolemy VI and his brother, Ptolemy VII, take the fortress of Pelusium. Think northern Egypt, kind of the Nile Delta there, from Antiochus IV. In a time of tranquility, he, Antiochus IV, will enter the richest parts of the realm, and he will accomplish what his fathers never did, nor his ancestors. He will distribute plunder, booty, and possessions among them. Antiochus IV, again, terrible guy, did terrible things to the Jews. Another terrible thing, he would attack the rich provinces of an empire and just give it to his supporters and help maintain his power. The end of verse 24 there, and he will devise his schemes against strongholds, but only for a time. Verse 25, he, Antiochus IV, will stir up his strength and courage against the king of the south, Ptolemy VI, with a large army. And indeed, Antiochus IV attacks Egypt in the 168 BC, preemptively, looks like the South's trying to rebuild their army again. I better get them before they're completely ready to go again. So the king of the South will mobilize an extremely large and mighty army for war, but he will not stand, for schemes will be devised against him. It's true, Egypt's allies abandon her, and they're left to suffer for it. Verse 26, those who eat his choice food will destroy him, and his army will overflow, but many will fall down slain. As for both kings, still Antiochus IV and Ptolemy VI as hostage, their hearts will be intent on evil. Ptolemy VI wants Antiochus IV's help to regain the Egyptian throne, instead of just being a hostage here up in the north in the Seleucid Empire. Middle of verse 27, and they will speak lies to each other at the same table, but it will not succeed. So, what we have going on here, we have a few competitor kings among the Ptolemies in the south, and they, of course, both want all the power in Egypt, not just half the power. We have Ptolemy VI, he's reigning in Memphis, but Ptolemy VII reigns in Alexandria. The end of verse 27, for the end is still to come at the appointed time. Then he, again Antiochus IV, will return to his land with much plunder, but his heart will be set against the Holy Covenant. Here, again, it's very neat to see how all the history lines up with chapter 11 here. So, he sets his heart against the Holy Covenant. Again, he's going to take more plunder from the Jerusalem temple. Second Maccabees, if you've heard of that book, chapter 5, it mentions this account, this happening and the plunder being taken from the temple. It seems to me, first, second Maccabees, that's good for history. Obviously, they're not inspired books. 3 and 4 Maccabees, and they seem to be rubbish to me, so whatever. But first and second seem to be all right, historical-wise. End of verse 28, and he will take action. Murder 80,000 Jews is the action he's taking here. And then return to his own land. Verse 29, at the appointed time, 168 BC, he, Antiochus IV, will return and come into the south. But this last time, it will not turn out the way it did before. So here, we have Antiochus IV. He invades all the way to Memphis, so he's getting a good chunk of Egypt under his control. He even comes close to the capital, Alexandria, of course named after Alexander the Great. 4, verse 30, for ships, this Roman commander, another Roman guy, Linnaeus of Kittim, that is the island of Cyprus, will come against him. Therefore he, Antiochus IV, will be disheartened. And again, we're trying to maintain a balance of power here as Rome. I don't want the kingdom of the north, the Seleucids, to get too big. I don't want the kingdom of the south, the Ptolemies, to get too big. And if one's beating up the other, in this case, the north beating up the south too much, all right, I, Rome, am going to step in and try and maintain that balance to, of course, increase my power. And the historical account that verse 30 here is speaking of, let's see here, Rome demanded Antiochus IV to leave Egypt or face war with Rome. The Roman commander famously drew a circle around him, telling him to decide before moving out of it. He's standing there in Egypt, and here's this Roman guy saying, okay, stop, I want to keep the south alive to buffer against you. Draws a circle around him, and very embarrassingly for Antiochus IV, all right, I got to tuck tail and go home. I'm not strong enough for Egypt and Rome. Still in verse 30 here, and he will return and become enraged at the Holy Covenant and take action. He murders much more Jews. So he, Antiochus Epiphanes, Antiochus IV, it's kind of interesting. His name, Antiochus Epiphanes, it means illustrious, Antiochus the illustrious. But since he's now losing against Rome, there were those in his empire calling him Epimanes, the madman. He's Antiochus the madman, not the illustrious anymore. Will come back and show regard for those who forsake the Holy Covenant. Indeed, some Jews join on his side, Antiochus. Verse 31, forces from him will arise, desecrate the sanctuary, fortress, seems to be perhaps Jerusalem's temple here, and do away with the regular sacrifice. And they will set up the abomination of desolation. So here in verse 31, we mentioned Antiochus IV being a terrible guy, and this is the main reason why all the Jews, and us today, I suppose, hate Antiochus IV. Here in 168 BC, he puts a statue of Zeus, the abomination, in the temple. You can't do that. Don't do that. That's going to cause problems. He murders more Jews, making desolate. Enslaves, at least 80,000 of them. Verse 32, by smooth words. This account here is recorded in 2 Maccabees 7. So that's kind of interesting. He will turn to godlessness those who act wickedly toward the covenant, but the people who know their God. So here in verse 32, it seems to be the Maccabean revolt, famous Maccabees, who are like, hey, you can't be slaughtering pigs in the temple, and you can't be setting up a statue of Zeus, and we won't put up with this. And the Maccabees guys, one of these Jewish guys' names, all right, let's start a revolt. We can't have this Antiochus IV guy. He's terrible. And the Maccabees fight and gain independence in 164 BC, which is quite the accomplishment. I suppose they kind of did what we did against the British. Let's hide in the bushes. Let's hide behind the trees, or if we have trees in the Middle East here. Let's not have pitched battles. And hey, it worked against this mighty Seleucid empire. And these are the ones who displayed strength and took action. Verse 33, those who have insight among the people will give understanding to the many, yet they will fall by the sword. Indeed, Eleazar and Judas Maccabeus die at the Battle of Mount Azotus in 160 BC. By flame, captivity, by plunder for many days. Verse 35, now when they fall, they will be granted a little help. Perhaps it's another Maccabean revolt. We do have a few of these in history, and again, of course, the Jews are hating on Antiochus IV for good reason. And many will join them. Many will join with them in hypocrisy. Verse 35, some of those who have insight will fall, in order to refine, purge, and make them pure until the end time, because it is still to come at the appointed time. Here in verse 35, I tend to think 70 AD when the Romans come in, destroy the temple. Commentators go maybe here and there with that, verse 35. Verse 36, then the king, Antiochus IV, will do as he pleases, and he will exalt and magnify himself above every god and speak monstrous things against the God of gods, and he will prosper until the indignation is finished. Presumably God's wrath for that which is decreed will be done. He will show no regard for the gods of his fathers or for the desire of women, nor will he show regard for any other god, for he will magnify himself above them all. Verse 38, but instead he will honor a god of fortresses, a god whom his fathers did not know. He will honor him with gold and silver, costly stones and treasures. He will take action against the strongest of fortresses with the help of a foreign god, his god of fortresses. He will give great honor to those who acknowledge him, and will cause them to rule over the many, and will parcel out land for a price. So, from verse 2 of chapter 11 here all the way through where we made it, verse 39, this is, 520s BC all the way to 160s BC, a large chunk of history here. Historians call it the 6 Syrian Wars. These are the wars between the king of the north, Seleucid Empire, versus the king of the south, Ptolemy, Egypt. Any thoughts through verse 39 here? Yeah, quite a lot of history throughout here. But unfortunately, at verse 40, history drops the ball for us. We're not sure. Verse 40 through 45, it still mentions King of the North, King of the South. It still mentions, all right, we're going to conquer some of the beautiful land here, the Promised Land. Edom, Moab, rumors, the Holy Mountain. Again, we don't have the history behind verse 40 through 45, which makes a lot of commentators wonder, well, is this something way in the future? Is it something with, 70 AD? Is it end time stuff? I don't know. Verse 40 here, it says, at the end time, the king of the south will collide with him. We have chariots and horsemen and ships. It could be that it mentions at the end time here. It could just be, well, okay, concluding these events, concluding verse 1 through 39, where we know the history and the skeptics don't disagree with us. It's about King of the North, King of the South. It could just be the concluding events of, all right, to wrap it up, give it another 50 years and Rome's going to come in and take everything anyway. But yeah, it is kind of curious, verse 40 and following. We don't have much historically. Finally, this guy commented, in the first 35 verses of chapter 11, there are at least 135 prophecies which have been literally fulfilled. We can look back in history and say, oh yeah, this guy married that guy, and that guy backstabbed this guy, and the wife killed whoever, and it's on and on it goes. Well, any other thoughts or comments this morning? Again, if you like history, maybe you enjoyed it, and I know I do. Alrighty, well, thank you for your, I got a question.
But as a comment, current events, watch that Xi Jinping meeting with Trump last week. I want to just bring it forward. He quoted the Tunisian trap, which is a Greek philosopher. If you look that up,
Yeah.
in essence, it just says that any existing empire that feels challenged by a weaker
It's true. Yeah.
Trump. So just so you know,
Yeah, nothing new under the sun. Indeed. Yeah, Thucydides' trap, something like 16 out of 20 times where you have the rising power, there's going to be war. Uh-oh. Alrighty, well, thank you for your attention.